For the first 40 years of his life, Muhammad built a reputation for absolute honesty in the city of Mecca. His community knew him by two specific titles, Al-Amin, meaning the trustworthy, and As-Sadiq, the truthful. In 4 decades, there was not a single recorded instance of him telling a lie. That stability ended at age 40, when he made a claim that sent a shockwave through the region. He announced that he was a messenger of God. This creates a difficult paradox for historians. Why would a man with a lifelong record of integrity suddenly risk his safety and his reputation on a claim of this magnitude? To find the answer, we have to look at the only 4 logical possibilities. Either he was an imposter, he was suffering from delusions, he was being misled by a malevolent force, or he was telling the truth. By cross-examining the historical evidence against these 4 hypotheses, we can eliminate the false theories one by one until only the facts remain. We start with the imposter theory, the idea that he fabricated his message to gain wealth, status, or political power. But the material reality of his life suggests the opposite. Even after he became the leader of Arabia, he lived in poverty. He mended his own clothes and often went hungry, sleeping on a simple mat that left marks on his skin. When the Meccan elite offered him kingship and riches to stop his preaching, he refused. He spent the next 13 years enduring torture, social boycotts, and eventually exile, rather than take the payout. The ultimate test of his motives happened when his infant son, Ibrahim, passed away. By pure coincidence, his death occurred during a total solar eclipse. His followers assumed the sun was eclipsing in grief for his son. A fraud seeking power would have claimed this as a divine miracle to prove his status. Instead, Muhammad told the crowd that the sun and moon are signs of God that do not eclipse for the birth or death of any human. Because he rejected personal wealth and refused to exploit natural events for his own benefit, the imposter theory fails the evidence test. Next is the delusion theory, the possibility that he wasn't lying but was genuinely suffering from hallucinations. However, the people closest to him, highly capable leaders like Abu Bakr and Umar, documented a man who was intellectually sharp and stable. His actions back this up. He managed complex legal, military, and diplomatic affairs that unified a fractured society, tasks that require immense focus and clarity. Then there is the Quran itself, a text filled with detailed legal systems and precise historical narratives. This linguistic precision defeated the era's greatest poets, a feat inconsistent with a mind suffering from mental fragmentation. Mental illness inherently degrades the ability to manage complex, large-scale systems over long periods. A man suffering from persistent hallucinations cannot architect a unified empire and dictate a cohesive system of law. The facts of his leadership simply do not match the profile of a delusional mind. The third possibility is the diabolical theory, the idea that he was being misled by a malevolent spirit. But the core of his teaching directly contradicts this. He commanded strict charity, moral uprightness, and explicitly forbade the practice of magic. It also creates a logical contradiction. The Quran contains multiple explicit warnings for humanity to reject the devil and his influence. We also see evidence of self-correction. There are verses in the Quran where Muhammad is publicly rebuked by God for his own mistakes, such as the time he was corrected for turning away from a blind man. A malevolent spirit would not inspire a message of moral uprightness, and a man driven by his own ego would not engrave public humiliations of his own conduct into his holy book. This theory, too, collapses under scrutiny. By ruling out deceit, madness, and malevolence, we are left with only one logical framework that fits the historical record. He was being truthful. This conclusion is reinforced by his consistency. For 23 years, despite extreme persecution, his message of strict monotheism remained totally unchanged. He also maintained that he was an unlettered man, someone who had never been taught to read or write, making the complexity of a Quran an even greater anomaly. This specific detail, an unlearned man given a book, aligns perfectly with a prophecy found in the Old Testament book of Isaiah. The verse describes a book being delivered to someone not learned, who replies, "I am not learned." When you combine a 40-year baseline of honesty, decades of personal sacrifice without material reward, and a message that radically reformed his society, the evidence points to a single conclusion. Muhammad was exactly who he claimed to be, a true messenger of God.